Time to turn our attention now to the latest business news and, well, those attacks in Saudi Arabia are still having an impact on the oil markets. To tell us more about that, we're joined on set by our business editor, Stephen Carl. Stephen, what's the latest?
Eve, Saudi Arabia says that it's restored half of the production that was affected by Saturday's attack on a processing facility. The country's oil minister saying that by the end of the month, production would exceed the levels before the attack. Some 5% of global production was affected by this incident, but the kingdom is also keen to reassure markets that its supply is secure to prevent other players like the United States flooding the oil market. That reassurance from Saudi Arabia has partly worked to reduce prices, although we've seen the international benchmark for oil, Brent crude, inch up in trading today. Today it's trading for just under $65 a barrel, but before these attacks it was over $69 a barrel. So, or rather I said just immediately afterwards. So it has come down significantly from those levels that we saw on Monday. WTI crude also seeing some gains on the markets today as well. Moving on, Facebook has announced more details of its new oversight board, which is being dubbed the Supreme Court of the social network. The body will review appeals to policy decisions, including on removing content from Facebook's platforms. In a series of blog posts, the social network outlines that the board will be expanded from an initial 11 to 40 members, who will be paid by an independent trust funded by the company. Users or Facebook will be able to submit cases to be reviewed by the board, and its decisions will be binding, which could mean the board would have the power to overrule Facebook's chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg. This new body expected to start looking at its first cases next year. Let's check out on the market action for you next. The big event for the markets today will be the Federal Reserve's decision on interest rates later on. America's central bank expected to announce a rate cut, but investors will be listening closely for signs of any stimulus that might come from Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve. This is the picture at the open of the European markets, London, Paris and Frankfurt, all trading in the red. Oil companies among the fallers. That tends to be the case when you have lower oil prices. Oil company shares tend to be down. We'll see how they react as the day goes on. On the Asian markets, we had a mixed picture in trading earlier. Falls in Japan and in Hong Kong, but gains in Shanghai and in Seoul. The French tyre maker Michelin has sounded the alarm over several of its factories in France. The company says 4 plants aren't competitive enough, and unions are worried about their future. Lauren Berstecker reports.
Not competitive enough. That's the verdict given by tyre maker Michelin to 4 of its 15 French factories. Among them, the La Roche-sur-Yon plant in western France, which employs some 650 people.
We live on a day-to-day basis. We can't plan ahead. Our future is on hold.
Workers' unions say they've already made concessions to help reduce costs, like agreeing to work up to 16 Sundays a year. Yet many feel they haven't been rewarded for their efforts.
For years, they've asked employees to sacrifice their personal lives. They worked us hard and promised us many things.
The company points out that wages in its French plants are up to 4 times higher than in most Eastern European countries. But Michelin, which has made a point of being transparent about these internal reviews, says it wants to avoid layoffs by making its workforce more flexible.
Right now, we're not being reactive enough to meet the demands of the market. I think that we need to propose innovative solutions to be able to work more when we need it and less when we don't.
Michelin's market share has dropped drastically over the past 20 years as it faces pressure from rivals outsourcing to Eastern Europe and rapidly expanding Chinese competitors. Yet the group has continued to do well. In 2018, its global sales went up by 4%.
Trade disputes are among the factors being blamed for an 11% drop in quarterly profits at the delivery giant FedEx. The company's been hit by slowing economic growth and the loss of business from Amazon. In response, FedEx says it will be raising prices and cutting costs. Shares in the company plunged by nearly 10% in our after-hours trading after those results were announced. And finally for me, New Zealand will once again play host to Middle-earth as Amazon has chosen to film its new Lord of the Rings TV series in the country. It's already played host to the hugely successful films, which provided a major boost to the country's tourist industry. The TV show is set to be the most expensive series ever made, with a budget of around €740 million. It'll be shot across 3 locations in New Zealand's North Island. Not much is known about the new series. Amazon, perhaps helpfully, has said that it will be set during the 3,441-year period before the events of the Fellowship of the Ring. They may find some things to talk about during such a time period.
Indeed. It's all clear to me now, in any case, when exactly it's set. And I have to say, it looks quite beautiful, but quite like Ireland, doesn't it, Stephen?
Oh, Scotland was in the running for the locations as well, but New Zealand won in the end.
Stephen Carroll there with our business update. Thanks a lot for that.